from a pharmacy degree to an MBA, and then you move into marketing.
Welcome to our YouTube channel, Digital Pharma. My name is Elena Vatutina and I'm CEO and founder of Pharma Global company. We are introducing you the new format, the podcast with high-level professionals from healthcare industry worldwide. And today my honored guest is Madhukar Tanna, the CEO of Pharma's company, one of the most rapidly growing production sites in the UAE and in GCC region. A person with an amazing background in pharma, particularly focused on greatest practices in pharmaceutical marketing. Enjoy the interview. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation to this podcast project of Digital Pharma. I would love to speak about your professional way, about industry, about COVID, especially because it is like the trendsetter for today's pharma and today's society. But to start with, tell a little bit about yourself, about your childhood, about how you entered the pharmaceutical market.
So first of all, Elena, thank you so much for inviting me, considering this is a very good opportunity for me to share my story, which is not that exciting, but nonetheless, I feel I'm at this stage in my life that it's worth rolling back and think about my story. So I have been in the industry for more than 40 years. No, I shouldn't say 40, a bit less than 40 years. And this is the only industry I have worked since my education. I ended up doing pharmaceutical business because I got education as a pharmacist, which is by accident. I was supposed to be doing medicine and becoming a doctor. And since I could not get the admission, I became a dentist. After maybe 6 to 9 months, I realized that dentistry is not for me. And I was left with no choice, but the only option available was pharmacy education. So I ended up doing pharmacy.
And how you look at this changes, like looking backwards, was it a great chance for you? How the universe created your future. So at that time, what you felt?
So, that time you don't think much. You only think about finding a job when you finish your degree, or you look at the opportunities around. So the most common opportunities as a pharmacist, either you become a medical rep or you become a production chemist, go into manufacturing. From the very beginning, I don't think my personality is suited to be a production chemist. So I decided to pursue my MBA and then went into marketing, which was a logical pathway, so to speak, from a pharmacy degree to an MBA, and then you move into marketing. So that was a most favored job track in India those days. That was the only opportunity.
But when you entered the pharmaceutical faculty, did you ever think of working in a pharmacy, like a general pharmacy?
Yes, it was not at all remunerative to become a community pharmacist. And that was never that remunerative those days, what it is today. So that's why I never practiced pharmacy. No. Either it is production driven or it is commercial, which is pharmaceutical selling, pharmaceutical marketing. These are the only two common options. Community pharmacist as a profession those days was not well paid. Even now I think it is not well paid in India.
I believe it depends on the region, yes. Isn't it?
Yeah, like I moved to Canada, where community pharmacist is a very well paid profession, highly recognized, respected profession. But during those days in India, community pharmacist was not something which people appreciate much. There was no much value put into that.
And when you were choosing marketing, MBA program in marketing, was it specifically for pharmaceutical industry or it was just a general marketing?
It was a general marketing. You go through all the general principles of marketing, sales, finance and various other subjects. But the opportunity you get after doing your MBA is product management. Those days product management was considered as a new profession where number of companies were launching too many brands. Generic industry was about to start taking off in India. So there were many such opportunities in marketing research or in product management, in pharmaceutical training. Various other such opportunities were given once you have done your pharmacy degree and you have done your MBA.
What do you think about all these sort of programs of MBA? I remember what it was like 10 years ago, 20 years ago about MBA programs, and it was really high evaluated, and you could rely on extending your career and your career growth when you're getting this degree. But right now, every single person, almost every single person is having an MBA degree. Some MBA programs goes like get the MBA within 6 months or within 1 year. What do you think? Is it really worth getting this MBA right now?
Well, it's a question of competition. You want to be ahead of the pool of people who are looking for a very few jobs available in the market. So if you have the better qualification, your chances of getting in the first block or the first door into the recruitment is easier. There are 10,000 pharmacists and there could be 500 pharmacists with MBA. Chances of getting your job is higher. That's the beginning of your corporate life. But afterwards, how you perform, I don't think that management education is the only thing that can help. There are many other things that can help. There could be many other opportunities which you can exploit. There could be some additional talent you might have. So once you get in, it's a foot in the door. MBA education today is a foot in the door. Because if a human resource manager will check for the same job, you have candidates which are just graduates and you have candidates which are graduates with MBA degree, obviously they will choose people with MBA degree.
I know you're hiring a lot of people, and I know that you're having lots of interviews with candidates.
Yes.
When it goes about interviewing the person, and when you look through his or her CV, do you pay attention to this fact if a person has or do not have MBA degree?
That's a tough call. The kind of people I'm recruiting, I do put some weightage whether they have an MBA degree, but not to the extent where it is a mandatory. It's not a mandatory requirement for the kind of people we recruit. What I look for in a person is the ability to deliver the kind of job which I'm looking for from that person, not just an educational background. So yes, I don't put that kind of emphasis on management education, because I recruit a lot of sales people, a lot of production people. If they have it, very good, but if they don't have it, I look at a lot of other capabilities and competencies rather than just an education.
Have you ever faced the situation, I'm just speaking, of course I'm trying to make a parallel with my management experience. Have you ever had an experience when you were having an interview with a person, you looked through his or her CV prior to the meeting and you saw that the CV is super amazing and the person has the degree, MBA degree or maybe a PhD degree, and then you're meeting this person and you can see that, and where's your MBA degree?
Yes.
You cannot even make two words connected.
Yes, yes. It is, as I said, it is not always the degree doesn't make you a right candidate. Degree only allows you to get an interview because you look at the resume, it looks very impressive. But in practice, when you interview this candidate and put them in a spot, when you make sure that whether they will deliver what you are expected to deliver those results, many of the candidates just cannot do it. So education alone cannot help.
Which points you are paying attention to when you are hiring a person to your team? As I understood, having the MBA degree in the CV is a kind opening, the ability to open the door and
That's
to
it.
go through the HR manager.
That's it.
That's it. But when it goes about making an engagement with the person who is entering your team, which skills you're pointing at as a soft skills? Maybe facing some challenges, something else.
So
what is important for
we
you?
We look for the person's drive to, or hunger, let's say hunger to get this job. Person's body language, communication skills, integrity, honesty, what kind of struggle they have gone through in the past. Those kind of things are very important for me than just a degree. There are people who have never, I have had a situation just recently where there were two similar candidates whom I wanted to choose from, and one person went through an incredible struggle to reach where she was today, she is today, and the other person, it was kind of a very easy life, and then got the degree, and I'm here for a job. So you choose the one who has really gone through the struggle in life, somebody who has really worked hard, because everybody doesn't reach through the same path. So we go for this kind of, I personally go for this kind of people who have a story to say, who have a struggle to make, whom I feel that they are passionate about their job, their life, their career, those kind of things. They are hunger for the job. That's what I look for.
I know your story briefly, and I know that from India you moved to Canada, now you are here in the UAE, and I have relocated over here as well, so yes. I know how it's challenging to change the country where you live in, it's challenging to change all the environment. Were you hungry? Why you have done this?
Why have I done it? I think every change was, you can say, serendipity. It's a by chance. Nothing was planned. I never planned to move out of India and go for job in the Gulf countries, which I did. It was an accidental meeting with somebody in my company, and there was an opening. And when in your youth you see there is not much downward risk to change from India to Gulf countries. So that's what I did in my 30s or 20s, late 20s. And then I lived in Oman, as you know, for 10 years. And then I think Oman to Canada was, I got just fed up with the job in Oman. And I did not see my career advancing. I did not see any hope as well in the near future. So the only options those days were either you go back to India or you go to some other countries like Australia or Europe or Canada. Canada was the only open country to accept immigrants. And so I ventured out to Canada.
Which year it was?
That was 95, 96, if I remember.
Do you believe in faith?
Sorry?
Do you believe in faith?
In faith?
Faith, yeah. Some people, they say that if you're doing right things in your life, you are facing right people, that they are giving you right opportunities, and if you will respond in the right way, so your life will be good. So
no, I think everything happens by chance. Nothing happens, it's just a chance. There is no such thing as it was the expression they say is that you were destined to go to Canada or you were destined to come to Dubai. I don't think so. It's pure chance. Pure chance. Just as our life is.
You are as a person with the marketing background, so you know that all the products and all the places, they have their own life cycle.
Yes.
So when it goes about this growth of GCC, of UAE, what do you think? How long it will last, this growth?
I think GCC as a region, foreseeable future, the growth trajectory will continue. They have the resources, they have the objective, they have the good intention to develop this, whether it's, let's talk about UAE as a country, they have the right, how do I say, they have fantastic resources and their objective is to develop the well-being of the society, well-being of their own people. So there is no shortage of funding in the right direction. Education, healthcare, infrastructure, industrialization, everything is phenomenal opportunities here.
How would you characterize the pharmaceutical market over here? In comparison, for example, within Indian, I mean the pharmaceutical market in different segments, production, supply chain, and healthcare retail.
So if I compare UAE vis-a-vis any other markets, we are very small. We are only 10 million people or 9 to 10 million people. So the market size is very, very small compared to India or US or Canada. So that is the major factor which I would say differentiating point. The relatively prices are higher compared to India or many other countries. At the same time, this country is fairly rich to accept newer products, newer technologies, patented medicines or any new therapies. So that way this market is different than many other markets in the world. In terms of production, again, we are still behind than many other parts of the world, but we are catching up with more such facilities coming up. I think you will see the next 10 years there would be a significant investment in the production of medicines in this region. And I think they will be, if not self-sufficient 100%, they would be self-sufficient for 75% of the requirements in next 10 years.
And do you think those investments will go to R&D, to local R&D environment, or it will go to production side to produce generics or for like out licensing?
So private sector will continue to invest in the production side, but the government is already investing a lot in the research and development, and they will continue to do so. So I do see next 10 years private sector there will be much more investment in the generic industry, but government will invest in more and more in R&D as well.
What about human resources? When it goes about investments into into R&D, human resources is those people who are making those R&D.
Yes.
And so this is the proper human resources is the foundation for any sort of R&Ds. So don't you think here is a lack of human resources on
It
the
is.
market right now?
It is, there is a lack of qualified R&D people in the region, but it's a UAE as a country, I think they are ready to attract the right R&D talent. Today, if you are talking about biotechnology or any other areas, I think it is not difficult to attract the right R&D team, provided there is a right opportunities, and which is what government is working towards it, to attract the right people, to create investment in projects which will bring the right R&D people. Look at 10, 20 years ago, UAE didn't have large software industry. Today you can find a very good software engineers in this country. You find very good doctors in this country. It's all about first the project has to come, then the people will follow.
What do you think? Who should take the initiative on those R&D? Because when it goes about UAE is a country absolutely great for doing business.
Yes.
And this is all about entrepreneurship. But when it goes about R&D and what you're saying, what I hear from your side is that this is the initiative of the government.
Absolutely.
So how this can go along together?
No, I mean, look at Western world as well. Most of the R&D work is done in the universities, and then there is a public-private partnership. Same thing will happen here, where government will invest in R&D projects, and then the private sector will be ready to take off. So first investment and has to come from the government sector for R&D. Private sector is too small, and R&D investment is too risky, and private sector does not have that kind of appetite or that environment to invest huge amount of money in R&D. So it has to come from the government sector.
I know that you are, as the person, as the head of Pharmax, you are investing a lot into bringing new products over here in the region.
Yes.
And some of them, they're really amazing, and we will speak about this a little bit later. But just to begin with, how Pharmax came into your life? How this happened?
So I used to work for a distribution company, family run organization, and the head of the family and myself are very good friends, and it was their ambition to grow regionally, which can only happen if you have your own manufacturing setup. And I'm talking about 2010, 2011, when the generic industry in UAE was just starting. And that was the first, and then when I showed the owners the growth in Jordan, Turkey, India about generic industry, they got convinced, and they decided that let's explore the option of investing, and that's how we started Pharmex. So it was a well thought out decision that manufacturing is going to be essential in the region. There are a lot of medicines which are not produced locally, which is essential to produce, and that is why the owners decided that let's have a manufacturing base here in Dubai.
Was it your first experience of a kind of startup, creating
Yes.
something new?
So I am at a stage where that is the best satisfaction I can take, is creating a company from scratch, making it a success, and now it is on a growth path. There were lots of challenges, but it's a kind of a satisfaction today that the company is now on the right track in terms of growth, in terms of new product introduction, in terms of expanding the geographical presence of Pharmex. We expect very soon it will be available within a year in entire MENA region. So yes, but there has been a lot of blood and sweat gone into it in establishing this company.
Do you remember that time, that particular moment, when the idea about this company came into your head?
So yeah, I'll tell you a brief little story, but myself and the previous owner of the company, we were having a coffee in Kempinski Mall of Emirates, and it was we were having a chat. He said, so what are we going to name this project? And he wanted to name it as some Arabic sounding name, and I wanted to name it as Pharmex. And he said, why? And I remember very well that I gave him the reason that it looks international and neutral. A pharmaceutical company name is a Pharmex name rather than something which is regionally sounding name. And he said, okay, done, let's call it as a Pharmex. And I remember I downloaded a cheap internet logo of Pharmex from my phone and registered the company in that coffee shop. So that was way back 10 years ago.
Means this is a historic place, that coffee
Yes.
shop in Kempinski.
Coffee shop in Kempinski, exactly.
Now we know the place of birth.
That is a place of birth, yes.
Yeah, yeah. And what is your team, how your team looks like right now? How many people you have on board?
Today we are close to 100 employees. 100 employees, which is of course about 50% of the employees are in the production side, about 20 people in the commercial, regulatory and administrative services, and about 20 to 22 are in sales and marketing. So yeah, we are close to 100 now.
When you were creating the production side, whom you hired the first? Do you remember those people who were staying with you in the beginning?
Yeah, that's a nice question. Fortunately, I have some good employees whom I've been working since day one, and many of them are still with us.
Oh, wow.
And so they know what has gone into the foundation of this company, the challenges of the building, engineering side and those kind of things. So yes, many of them are still with me.
For so many years?
Yeah, I would say 5 to 6 years.
So many people, they get used to change their job like once in a year, once in 2 years, and that's the ability to motivate people for that long. This is amazing.
Well, it is a combination of both. Pharmex gave a number of employees the opportunities for growth because we were establishing new, so I think a lot of people found it's a great opportunity, great learning experience to establish a new company, and the satisfaction of creating something which did not exist. Unlike many other companies, if you see, we never had a legacy. Everything what you see is what is created by a group of employees. So it's not only me, but all my colleagues who have contributed to creation of this company. So that's why they are quite happy. We take care of them very well, and they continue to work for Pharmex.
I believe you remember all the people whom you hired by yourself, like we always remember people whom we hired. Do you remember, and did it happen to you when the company just started? And of course, you need to move fast, you need to have team around you, you need to have a strong team to show a good traction. And have you met people who were doubting?
Oh, there were quite a few senior people never joined Pharmex because they were not sure whether the project will take off or not, whether they will get the salary in time or not. So number of senior people refused to join, and so I realized that maybe I'm targeting the wrong employees. So I decided to go one step below and gave them the confidence that we are a sound, stable organization, your salary will not be a problem, and invited them to Dubai if they are scared to come to Dubai. I remember there was a woman from South Africa who had never been to Dubai, and she was extremely scared to come and work she was a single person, And I said, fine, I will give you the ticket, come down for a 1 week stay and see the city. There may be other people from South Africa here, and see if you like us, then you can join. And that's how she accepted our offer.
Wow.
So I had to attract people in a different way. But once you established and once they see the building, once they see the plant, then it's no longer a problem to attract talent. It's in the initial days, it is very difficult to attract talent.
What about negative examples?
Like
I can just share my experience. I had several examples when people were super great in performing in their current position, and of course when they wanted to move somewhere forward in their career, so these people, they are the first who are in the queue to have the improvement to a new position. Especially when the company is growing, you need someone you can rely on to put on the strategic position. And out of sudden, these people were not performing as good as in a previous position. And this leads to, so I lost the good specialist on its position, and I didn't even hire the good manager at the new position. So did you have such sort of examples?
I'm just trying to think about it. No, maybe one or two cases where it has happened, but so far there is not a major issue in terms of negative side of promoting people from within. I think I have a very good, I'm really lucky, I must say, to find the right kind of people who are fully dedicated to the job and working to make sure that we are fully compliant with the quality and everything what we are supposed to do. You can make a mistake in electronic industry and withdraw the product. You cannot do that. It cannot be that easy in pharmaceutical industry. So I think we have absolutely dedicated team of people ensuring the work. So not many examples of such negative examples now.
That's great.
Exactly.
That's great.
I'm really fortunate.
Yeah. When it goes about product strategy and product development, this is really inspiring, and I remember that case which we discussed previously with you about this lotion with vitamin D, about this food supplements that can be transferred and then can have another registration as a medicine. Who is inventing this product strategy? Is it your invention, your personal invention?
So I contribute to the most in terms of product strategy. But if you see how Pharmex product strategy is based on the chronic medical conditions. So that was the starting point of Pharmex Pharmex product selection strategy, which was agreed with the previous owners, current owners of the company as well. So within chronic medical conditions, we targeted diabetes, hypertension, cholesterol management, so various cardiometabolic disorders. That has been our number one focus. Mental illness has been our second most important focus, and urology and various other segments, gastroenterology and urology. So these are the most common chronic conditions. So it's not only my contribution, but it is also coming from market data, market research, various other source of information, competition, local opportunities, those kind of things. So yes, I am one of the instrumental person in selecting the products, but not the only one.
When it goes about pushing the new product to market, how the instruments has changed within last 10 years? What do you think?
So 10 years ago, it was, I would say it was relatively easy to place the product in the market. based on you create a demand, you convince the physicians all the benefits of your product, and then the product would be available in the retail pharmacies, and then there would be a prescription. I think in the last 10 years, the major factor that has changed is the insurance. So health insurance has become the very important element of getting the product into the market. So if you are a generic product, if you are priced very well, then you have a better chance of getting the product, unless compared to the products which are expensive products. So today the formularies, the reimbursement, everything is based on health insurance. Unlike 10 years ago, there was not such a case. You can bring any product, you can sell any product, which was relatively easy.
But this insurance system, it increases competition between pharmaceutical companies, and isn't it good for the market in general? Isn't it good for a patient?
Of course, it's a fantastic thing for the patients, but it brings us, it keeps the pressure on the pricing, and that is so it's a very tough environment. We don't have the luxury of increasing the prices on one side because our prices are controlled by the government. At the same time, the competition drives the prices. So your margin gets affected in the end of the day. That is the challenge which we are living in right now.
And don't you think that this pressure will make some production sites over here move into R&D sector to be able to create the better margin?
It will make us to be more competitive, to reduce our cost, to acquire the products at a lower price, to negotiate with the suppliers, to not to over exceed our budget in terms of sales and promotion and those kind of things. So yes, it's a big challenge for us today. That is the biggest challenge, if you ask me, that how to manage the lower price, at the same time how to manage the increase in the expenses.
And when it goes about pricing, one of the major expenses goes for market access costs.
Yes.
And no doubt that the payroll for the field force managers, this is one of the hugest part of expenses.
Absolutely.
So don't you think that using the digital instruments in this field will make the company much more competitive?
Goes without saying. If in last 2 years we have invested a lot on digital webinars, live webinars, it allows us to reach for the same dollar investment much larger audience. But we have not been able to replace our field force. That is very essential. So right now we are doing certain percentage of investment in digital marketing. At the same time, we are doing the one-to-one promotion through medical representatives.
How many medical representatives you have?
Today I have about 22 medical reps in UAE alone, which is very high, but it will not grow considerably because the growth will come in digital side. So if we can reach the physicians to educate about our products digitally, then we may not have to invest more in the field force. I think what we have is adequate at the
just let's make kind of predictions of future. So looking in the nearest 10 years, how do you think the supply chain will transform over here in UAE and maybe generally in GCC market?
So it is a big problem of supply chain is a major constraint because we don't produce a lot of stuff in UAE. We are dependent on Europe, we are dependent on India, China. These are the 3 major countries where we buy stuff from. I am hoping that in next 10 years there would be much more local production, and it will get easier to get our supplies lot easily. I think there would be a lot more regional centers or regional hub to get our raw material what we need.
What about the role of medical representative inside of supply chain? Will it change somehow? What do you think?
I think medical representatives are, you cannot replace them. They are essential. They do a very valuable job of providing the right information to the physician. They provide a lot of medical education to the physician. I don't think it will go away, but in parallel there will be a growth of digital medium to educate the physician. Because as you know, I mean, we don't sell medicines. We only provide information to the physician either digitally or through the medical representatives, and both will continue. But number of field force may not grow considerably.
If you were speaking to students in the pharmacist faculty, for example, in one of local universities, what you would advise to them? Which segments of market to aim? Where to go?
That's a tough.
There are so many students.
There are so many. Yes, I know, and I do go to the. Occasionally, I do go to the universities, talk to the students. It's a very difficult advice to give. There are many opportunities in a newer industries like biotechnology, but may not be in UAE, but outside of the country. But if you look at UAE as a country, and if you are looking for opportunities as a pharmacist, then there are opportunities in clinical research, there are opportunities in regulatory affairs, there are opportunities in community pharmacy, and these are the areas you find such more opportunities in this country or in sales. But I think outside the country there are many good opportunities available in research, in mostly in research and research in biotechnology.
And when it goes about, you just said that there is an opportunity from the side of community pharmacy, but what I can see from the market, that the concentration of healthcare retail, especially in pharmacy segment, is pretty high. I mean, the share of big pharmacy chain is very high over here.
About 40%, yeah.
And doesn't it create a kind of difficulties to find your place in such sort of companies?
It is.
Whereas everything is already established.
Yes. You mean to create a new pharmacy?
Yeah, it's difficult to enter this market. It's difficult to jump into community pharmacy, to open your own pharmacy, because everyone is fighting for their places.
No, it is no longer very attractive and very, very difficult to establish your own pharmacy. You can do it provided you have the. So those days are gone where you open up a one single shop as a pharmacy in around the Al Quoz area and succeed. Those days are gone. Either you have to have a backup of medical doctors around, so it could be a pharmacy in a medical center, then maybe it will do well, or you should have the ability to scale up and open up 100, 150, 200 pharmacies. And this is a way in many countries are shifting from a single community pharmacy to chain pharmacy or a medical center pharmacy, and that is the trend which will continue. Another thing that will change in this country eventually will be the online dispensing of medicines. So that will happen in next few years. Once there is a right regulatory framework, there will be a change of how medicines get delivered to patients.
So probably the number of pharmacies will decrease then?
It will decrease, or it will not increase more.
Or this segment will transfer in kind of druggery stores like CVS and others in the United States?
That's correct. So that will change for sure.
So probably there are also some opportunities.
Yeah, so there may not be much growth, but online dispensing of medicine sooner or later will come.
What you're really proud of?
So I have gone through different roles, and what I'm really proud of is in last, I would say about 20 years, I have had opportunity to create organizations from zero. So I think when I came from Canada, I was the only employee of the organization here and created a set of employees, something which did not exist. There was no office which belonged to the company, so I opened up a new office. I got the new license. And same is in case of Pharmex. Identified the land, created a name, started doing the construction. So what I'm really proud of is creating something which did not exist before.
It was challenging, and I know how it is when you created something from the beginning, when you're managing.
So that's a very proud moment.
But while you were on this way, have you ever had the just thoughts, okay, it's super difficult, I want to give it up?
Oh yes, so many times. So many times it came to my mind, and that it's time to give up, enough, let's do something else. But as long as there was commitment from the owners that we are backing this project in spite of the difficulties we have faced, and I had a confidence that we will eventually succeed in creating this company. So, but yes, many times I felt it that, just get out of it.
What was the biggest difficulties you faced with?
No, the delays that happens in execution of a project is beyond
and development.
Everything. Unusual delay in getting the government approvals, getting delays in supply, project construction gets delayed, regulatory approval comes late, supply does not come. So there are a number of problems that can come up. But I think today we are now, we can say that we are all ready for the growth.
Are you growing the talents inside of your company? Are you a mentor to someone?
Am I a mentor to someone? I hope they believe that I am the mentor to those people, but all my team members do look it up as and I do see that as well. I'm not an authoritarian leader. So yes, I strongly mentor them in wherever ways I can.
And do you have mentors for yourself?
Do I have a mentor for myself? I don't know if I can say as of today, but there was my ex-boss in Canada when I joined Lundbeck as an organization. I still consider him as not a mentor, but who transformed my thinking, transformed the way I work, the way I think. So there was a gentleman who, his name is Jeff, who was my ex-boss. I would say yes, he is kind of who influenced me a lot at an individual level.
Imagine that you are meeting Jeff nowadays.
Okay.
What would you say to him?
Nothing. I don't know. What will I say? I mean, we are good friends, so yeah.
You're still in contact?
I'm not in contact in recent times. But no, I don't think, I mean, we would remember the good old days and have a nice beer together and just enjoy.
Okay. And a short blitz. You need just choose one
Okay.
of questions I'm asking you, or you can just suggest your own answer. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Dubai or Abu Dhabi?
Dubai.
Lying on the beach or hiking in the mountains?
Hiking in the mountain.
Snow or sun?
Sun.
Putin or Biden?
That's a tough one. Liberal.
Okay. Who's your hero?
No, I think as a hero, I've always been inspired by Steve Jobs and Obamas and those kind of people. So yeah, I would say them.
If you could ask them one question, like Steve Jobs, let's go out of politics, what would you ask?
You have put me in a tough situation, Elena. I think I would definitely ask his daily routine, that how do you achieve so much when we have the same amount of time that he has in a day. How does he divide his time and utilize his time? He sleeps 8 hours a day, I sleep 8 hours a day, or whatever. But how do they do it in a, that's what something that, how do they manage their day? That would be my question.
Great. Thank you. Have no other questions.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wonderful opportunity to, you took back my whole history of my life in a different perspective, reflecting on the past, which was very nice.
It was such a great story, and we discussed everything, your point of view about the current structure of market, about your experience, about difficulties.
Yes.
And you know, even though you say that some questions, they were tough, but you know, especially about Steve Jobs, the last one, you know, it was so natural and so so great that it shows the personality, the human personality, like not just, you know, I understand that some people who work in your company, maybe who know you from the industry, they look at you and they see the picture, but no one knows what stays behind,
No.
what a journey, what a
Yes.
journey you have made, and like what fears you have gone through, which challenges you have gone through, and this is an amazing story you have, really.
It is. That's why. That's the most satisfying part. So.
Yeah, yeah.
Super. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for you being over here. Great.
Thank you.
Appreciate super highly.
My pleasure.
Did you enjoy the interview with Madhukar? I enjoyed it a lot. Whom do you want to see next in our podcast? Feel free to leave the name of your candidate in the comments down below. See you next time.